us Dr. Rabia Gupta, an accomplished academic, media professional, and passionate advocate for social change. Dr. Rabia Gupta is currently an assistant professor at the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, Jammu, with over a decade of rich experience in both media and academics. She has worked with most of the renowned names in the media industry and academic circles. Dr. Gupta's journey from being a media professional to a media educator has been nothing short of inspiring. Her vast expertise spans across the journalism, communication research, social media, and digital journalism. She has authored several research papers and book chapters on critical topics, including women empowerment, communication for social change, and the evolving landscape of digital media. In recognition of her contribution to the field of media and communication, Dr. Gupta has been honored with multiple awards, including the prestigious recognition from the then Union Law and IT Minister, Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad, for her writings in 2019. Notably, she was awarded the ICSSR grant for her doctoral research titled Changing Media Ecology and the Influence of Social Media on the Contemporary Journalism in India in 2021. In addition to her academic achievements, Dr. Gupta is an active participant in numerous media literacy and social development initiatives. She has recently participated in the Factshala University Network as a media literacy trader, a program sponsored by the Google News initiative to build competency for media literacy across educational institutions. Her deep commitment to the media education is reflected in her active role as the Secretary of the Public Relations Society of India and her contributions to the various conferences and workshops globally. Dr. Gupta brought knowledge of the rapidly changing media landscape coupled with first-hand experience in both the media and academics worlds, uniquely positioned her to lead today's discussion on the critical topic of media literacy in the age of deepfake. We are eager to gain insights into how we navigate the complexities of misinformation, disinformation, and the ethical implications of the digital media in the age of rapidly advancing technology. Without further delay, please join with me welcoming Dr. Rabia Gupta with lots of applause. Dr. Rabia Gupta, over to you.
So, a very good morning to one and all present here.
Good morning.
I would like to extend, first of all, thanks to Alpana ma'am for giving me this opportunity to be here with you all today, and thank you to you also, ma'am. It's quite a nostalgic feeling of coming back to my alma mater, because I also have studied in Parade College. But only for 1 year. I did my commerce BCom here for 1 year, and then I went to follow my inner calling of writing and being in the media, for which the ground was not fertile back then. So I decided to go to Bangalore University and pursue journalism and my masters from there, and I wanted to be in the field for a lot of time. So I worked with the Hindu, the New Indian Express, and then of course, South is very far from here one end, so I started to work with the Tribune on the desk, and then I worked with magazines and Aadhaar as IEC manager. Marriage got me back, and IIMC, Indian Institute of Mass Communication, which is an autonomous body of Ministry of Information, INB, right? Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. So they were setting up their institution here. They have 6 regional centers across India. So they were setting up one regional center in Jammu in 2012. So I entered academics since 2012.
Actually, you've been associated since then?
Yes.
Since inception you've been there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So after working for a decade over there, I also finished my PhD, and then I worked with Jammu University for some time. And now back to IIMC again, right? So in a small place where not many opportunities are there, it's just a tip to all the girls here that you have to look for opportunities, and I think we have that inbuilt somewhere. We are able to create our spaces, we are trained that way to find that small little window of opportunity wherever we go, right? So this is a small tip that whatever circumstances, in whatever position and capacities you are in, always, there's always a sun and there's always a hope and there are always so many ways, right? Yeah.
Very
So,
well said.
thank you so much. Yeah. So that's just a bit of connection with you guys, that I was also one of you sitting here in this college somewhere, and just followed my inner calling to pursue the passion that I felt that could be contributory to the society, to myself and my family in some which ways. So I tried to follow that, right? So yeah, so I have been into academics, doing a lot of things, but recently I was selected as a factshala trainer. So in the year 2000, when COVID was happening, this was a media program, and they have a headquarters in Delhi. So this is sponsored by Data Leads, and it's a Google News initiative wherein they try to take up a lot of media educators as well as practitioners from the field. They got together to battle out disinformation. As you know, that during the COVID time, there was a lot of misinformation and disinformation regarding the vaccine, and internally some things were flaring up, so people were, we were at war, so to say, during COVID times. Not just the health bio war, but we were battling on all socio-economic and cultural, all the fronts. Structurally also we were juggling at our own places, right? So during that time, this thought came of establishing a factshala program, wherein academia and industry people got together to look up the tools to help people decipher what is misinformation and what is disinformation, to make them media literate, right? So that they get those analytical skills which can open up their minds to the information we are receiving. And I'm sure most of you would agree that we are living in the era of information. How many of you agree with the fact that we are living in the era of information and knowledge era? All the hands should have been up. Yeah. So, and also with so much of information flooding from all the different directions, you also must be grappling when you are writing your notes and when you are making your... Is it audible?
Yes.
Sorry, I should have asked that in the beginning only. But yeah, so...
May I just stop you? Can we stop with the attendance for the moment? We can have the attendance after the session is over. आपका सारा ध्यान attendance की तरफ चला गया है. You're not listening to what ma'am is saying. Attendance 2 minute बाद कर लेते हैं. ठीक है? Let ma'am finish. Yeah.
So we are living in the era of information, right? So there was this program, the need for this was felt that we should be able to weapon up our people right from the microcosm, no matter whatever age group they belong to, no matter whatever education background they belong to, whatever backgrounds somebody might be having, we can equip them, and once they are equipped, they will be able to separate wheat from chaff, and they will be empowered, and once they are empowered, nobody can befool them. That was the idea behind setting up this network program. And in the first phase, during the COVID time, they were conducting various workshops, they were conducting village to village programs wherein they were adopting certain villages and they were empowering people and telling them about how to disseminate information, especially separating facts and misinformation. After the first phase, the second phase after the COVID, now they are in the phase of establishing media hubs, for which 50 universities were selected, and I must congratulate you all and your college that this is also one of the 50 universities and colleges which has established a media hub here, right? and this is one part of factshala, and I also got connected with them in the second phase, and whatever my learnings in the conference were, I will be sharing those learnings and those tools and apps with you, because they are not just related to how you sift through the information. It is also how you navigate into digital spaces carefully, wisely, and this critical thinking will help you when you are preparing for your academics side as well, right? What is authentic information, what is not authentic information, what is the reliable information, what is not reliable information. So you will all be able to open up your minds towards these heavy terms, but once we do it, they will become very casual to you. Your mind will open up to that, and it will become part of your habits and your regular dealings with it, to be able to sift through wisely in the information flood that we are all grappling with. So I will start the PPT in a while, but before I start, I would just like to know if anyone here sitting here can tell me what do they understand by misinformation and disinformation? Is there any difference? Do you think they are same? Anyone can address whatever comes to your mind when I say misinformation and disinformation. Anyone? It can be a blind guess. There is no right or wrong answer we are looking for. We're just trying to open up, you know.
Speak up, be interactive, beta. Whatever comes to your mind, speak out at least. बेटा ये वाली दोस्त
Okay, I think we all know it, but we are just being hesitant to, come out and say. So today being the Women Day, so this is another tip. Most of the times we don't open up, we hesitate. Although on the positive side of it, we have it in us. So anyone, yes please.
Good morning ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, I guess misinformation वो होती है जो unintentionally फैल जाती है, I guess. और जो डिसइंफॉर्मेशन होती है वो इंटेंशनली जो है वो सोशल मीडिया पे डाली जाती है लोगों को फूल बनाने के लिए.
Very correct. Absolutely correct. And what's your good name, please?
मैम शबनम इकबाल.
And you're from media background?
She's from design degree.
Very
We got
nice.
2 programs here.
Very nice.
Mass communication and design degree.
Yes, very nice. So exactly, to be a media literate, you don't have to be necessarily from the media field, is because we all are using media. This is a media of information that we have. So that is why it is important for each one of us to be media literate in present times. And she has rightly said misinformation is manipulation, and in that manipulation we are not knowing that we are becoming a cog in the wheel of spreading the false information. And disinformation, it's easier to remember with the word deliberate. There is deliberate attempt to spread that false information, right? So quite a bit of knowledge we already have. I just have to shake you up with some more tips and pointers that are there in our tools, in our media apps that we are using. But only thing is, we are not being observant of this in our day-to-day routine lifestyles, right? So we'll just start the PPT. So a lot of people, well-established people from media industry are also part of factshala. So we just see what they have to say.
गलत सूचनाओं के जंजाल में साफ और तस्दीकता से प्रेरित एक आंदोलन। फैक्टशाला इन्वेस्टर प्रोग्राम में आपका स्वागत है। भारत में ऑनलाइन प्रसारित होने वाली गलत सूचनाओं की बढ़ती लहर को खत्म करने के लिए एक पहल। हेलो, मैं शेखर गुप्ता, एडिटर इन चीफ द प्रिंट, और मैं फैक्टशाला इन्वेस्टर प्रोग्राम के नवीनतम एम्बेसडरों में से एक हूँ। फैक्टशाला इन्वेस्टर प्रोग्राम पॉइंटर इंस्टीट्यूट के सहयोग से डेटा लीड्स द्वारा संचालित एक मीडिया साक्षरता पहल है। इस पहल में हमारा प्लेटफॉर्म theprint.in भी अपना कुछ योगदान दे रहा है। फैक्टशाला और पॉइंटर इंस्टीट्यूट द्वारा चालित मीडिया वाइज ऑनलाइन प्रसारित होने वाली गलत सूचनाओं को पहचानने और उन्हें दूर करने में आपकी मदद के लिए एकजुट हुए हैं। मीडिया लिटरेसी या साक्षरता सिर्फ एक हुनर नहीं बल्कि गलत सूचना के विरुद्ध एक ढाल है। गलत सूचना एक खतरा है जिसका हम रोज सामना करते हैं, लेकिन साथ मिलकर हम इसके फैलने को कम कर सकते हैं। सच्चाई के लिए इस नेक धर्म युद्ध में हमारे साथ जुड़े और एक ऐसी दुनिया को आकार दें जहां तथ्यों की कल्पना पर जीत हो। हम कुछ सुझाव साझा करेंगे जिन्हें हम तथ्य जांच फैक्ट चेक की वर्णमाला यानी कि अल्फाबेट कहते हैं और जिन्हें हम पत्रकार के रूप में जानकारी को जांचने के लिए हर रोज उपयोग करते हैं। बड़ी खबर यह है कि इन कौशलों को सीखना आसान है और कोई भी इनका उपयोग कर सकता है। इसलिए फैक्टशाला वेबसाइट और यूट्यूब चैनल को अवश्य देखें और आप इस वीडियो को द प्रिंट की यूट्यूब चैनल एवं सोशल मीडिया हैंडल्स पर भी देख सकते हैं।
Am I audible? Yes. So you saw Shekhar Gupta. How many of you are familiar with his face somewhere? He's a very famous journalist from Indian Express, and he rightly shared the information on why it's important in present times, right? So there is this pre-test form which you all can take 2 minutes. You can scan, those of you who have phones, you can scan it, and we just want to see your knowledge on misinformation, disinformation before the workshop, and then we'll quickly see it after the workshop. You'll be able to see the rise in your own, you'll be able to see the graph of your own knowledge enhancing in some time. So I'll give you just 2-3 minutes to finish this quickly, and we'll try to wrap up the session as fast as we can. and supported by Google News Initiative. Data Leads is a digital media and tech company headquartered in New Delhi. And the program I already shared that it started in 2020 at the time of COVID to empower millions of people, battling with misinformation. And if I have to just tell you in numbers, these are some of the numbers that factshala has done about 2,500 workshops, empowered so many people. You can just see the figures. Data leads means the figures, the data, and data says a lot, especially in present times where we are also having a quantitative approaches to study and explore things without wasting time. Right? So this is how factshala has been contributing by benefiting almost 66+ million people. So at the time of COVID, they were successfully training people and participation across India in various villages by way of street plays, village walks, flash mobs in the metros, community. And after they were developing these programs, the people, in villages they were like influencers. आप सबको influencers word पता होगा आज की डेट में, right? So they were spotting those influencers who can further disseminate information, and they were also awarded as community champions. Okay, so you have understood what the program is about. Now, why do we need this program? Essentially, is because we are dealing with a lot of information which is very complex. So now in present times we can't be just dependent on who was in earlier scenario separating wheat from the chaff and giving to us any idea in the society who is doing that work of giving you the right information out of separating the information, breaking the complexities and giving it to the commoners. Who was doing this job? Any idea? Reporters, journalists were doing this job, right? You just have to look up the newspapers and everything was there in a very simplified manner in front of you. But then nowadays, in the information war, even the journalists, even the reporters, along with the speed and accuracy, they also have to sift through the digital spaces, navigate through them within the constraints of times. They also have limited time and produce accurate work. So we can't be in present times just be dependent on reporters and journalists. That's why we are spreading media literacy to each and every individual, and we are in a need of fact finders and fact checkers. So anyone can be a fact checker. They don't necessarily have to have a media degree to be a fact checker and fact finder. Right? So that's why it's important, because it helps you break through complexities, it helps you navigate through digital problems and make better informed decisions and become independent critical thinkers. And that is why we are also saying that in research we want critical thinking back. So this is also going to contribute in pushing you towards critical thinking. So media literacy hubs you are already aware of. I told you your college is a part of it. And these are some of the posters. It is still updating. A lot of people are still joining, and your poster, your logo still needs to be there, which I have already informed them. It's there. It's there? It's there. Okay. So once, you will also be getting the shield once it is in a physical mode. Okay. So this workshop module is divided into 3. First, we will be looking at the foundations of media literacy. Then we will be looking at how you can become super searchers in your Google searching in times of artificial intelligence. And third module will be talking about critical thinking and media literacy in the age of deepfakes. Are you aware of deepfakes? Have you heard this word deepfakes? Yes. Just raise your hands. How many of you have heard deepfakes, shallow fakes, synthetic fakes? Okay. So we will be, as we proceed further, you will have more knowledge of it. Right. So module 1, which is foundations of media literacy. So what is media literacy? If I ask anyone can tell me what is media literacy? Any idea? Okay. How many of you agree information is power? Right? If you have information, right information on right time, you can shape up the future the way you would want to. Right? And why most of the people are not able to reach the finish line? Most of the people say that we received the information late, हमें पता ही नहीं था इसके बारे में और हमें बहुत late पता लगा इस information के बारे में, right? So that's why we are saying information is power. But now what has happened is the floodgates have opened. So much of information when it is there, still you will be lagging behind the finish line if that is there for you to chase. These are obstacles, right, which have been flooded on your way. Now you have to smartly, with your critical thinking, find your way forward. Right? So now you are accessing information. In this information flooding, you are accessing information through Google, Instagram, or Twitter, or now called X, earlier called Twitter, YouTube, WhatsApp, Facebook. These have now become your habitual day-to-day platforms to be looking at information, right? And that's why misinformation, if misinformation has to spread in society, where will it pan from? This will also pan through the most widely used apps, most widely used platforms, right? That's why you have to be even more careful when you are navigating through any of these platforms, right? So when you look at the numbers are in front of you, how we are receiving information on daily basis, right? So looking at the numbers, I would just want to tell you, whenever you are writing anything, whenever you have to bring the rationale, right? Whenever you are talking about research, you are saying, why have you taken this? Whenever you have to explain the why, you talk about the majority, you talk about the numbers. How do we get those numbers to authenticate our work? Right? So there are a lot of websites which give you that help when you have to do your research, when you have to academically engage somewhere to bring out that rationale, right? So all the figures that you're looking on the screen have been sourced through various websites. So I'll just name a few websites which are very important when you have to get your data, right? So number one and the most important and commonly freely available is Statista. So whenever the figures are there, whichever platform you are accessing, for your academic purpose, for your research purposes, for your presentation purposes, whenever you're putting figures or whenever you're looking at the figures, be it in media, print media, digital media or electronic media, if somebody is sharing some figures, you must always cross-verify those figures, right? To check the authenticity of those figures. And how can you do that? In present times, you can quickly go through these websites. For example, Statista is one website, S-T-A-T-I-S-T-A, Statista is one website which you can go and check the figures, cross-verify them. Then you have explodingtopics.com. This is another website which gives you figures. Then you have socialpilot.co. Then you have internet live stats, internetlivestats.com. You have wiseowl.com. Wiseowl is spelled as W-Y-Z-O-W-L. Wiseowl.com. Right? So these are some of the websites that you can quickly, the moment you get the numbers, what you have to do is, number one thing that you have to do, whenever you see the numbers, cross-verify them. And how will you cross-verify them? You will look at some of these websites, the name of the websites I have shared. I'll also give it to Akash, he can share it further with you. Right? So you will quickly go through these websites to cross-check. Right? So now understanding changing information landscape, right? You must have heard, information, how much data is around the world. Any guesses how much data is there around, in and around the world? The numbers are staggering. Global data sphere stands at 149 zettabytes. 149 zettabytes, okay? And it is expected by the year 2025 it is going to be 181 zettabytes, right? So that much of amount of data is available, and you need to cross verify whenever many figures are there in front of you. That's why it is even more important and crucial, right? So the challenges in information flood is sorting the truth from misinformation, facing analysis paralysis, how do you analyze it, choosing a trustworthy platform. Sometimes you unwillingly, although you may not want to be part of the cog in the wheel, you may not want to spread the misinformation, but you may become a cog in the wheel, right? Unwillingly also. And then sometimes you are in such hurry and rush without knowing the harm that you follow the chain. And of course, this was relevant during COVID time, that when we were battling on the bio end, at one end, we were not looking at the information, crucial information which was written on the medicines. How many of you have the time to really go through the medicines? You were rushing through your burner, to taking care of the younger ones, to taking care of the older ones, and you were battling on so many fronts. Almost in a family of 4 people, almost all of them were COVID attacked at one point in time. Charo ke charo bimar ho gaye, right? So it's very difficult at that crucial time to be able to sift through the information, right? And that's why we need to make it a practice and habit, right? So without media literacy, of course, we are vulnerable to misinformation. We become part of digital echo chambers in social media spaces where our belief systems might resonate for right or wrong reasons. We are even exposed to cyber security risks. You must have read the news stories of cybercrime happening. So many people got duped of so much of money. People are very conscious of these days कि हम किसी को net transfer करने के लिए अपना account की details दे कि नहीं दे. People are very conscious these days because of these frauds that have happened, cyber frauds that have happened. I know of somebody very close to me. हमें लगता है कि there is tsunami outside, but just that it has not knocked at my door, so we feel safe. I know somebody just sitting across the table the other day told me 5 lakhs जो हमने अपने sister की marriage के लिए रखा था, cyber fraud में 5 lakhs we were doing, right? So yes, it's so close. It's just that it has not just hit us at the moment. So we are so blessed, right? So yes, we are exposed to cyber frauds, and then of course, once we are aware, we will be able to look through health medicines that are promised to us on social media, which cure for all. Whether you want to reduce your weight, whether you want to take care of your diabetes, whether you want an answer for liver problems or kidney problems, everything is there on those hacks videos that you are getting on social media, and without knowing the consequences, we just jump to implement them, right? So that's why media literacy is very, very important. And now let's just look at some of the examples, okay, of misinformation leading to financial losses. So there was this scam which happened. It was a meticulous scam which happened, in Mumbai, and there were fraudulent trading apps, and people, and there was a victim who lost 11.1 crore in banking transactions. Okay, so and the target for this is usually, you will see, either the young people or the people who are old, because they are grappling with technology, and that's the time, that's the vulnerable time these hackers attack them, right? So we need to open up our hearts with the people, with the family members back home, right? Even when we are standing in a queue, banking queue, हम कभी-कभी withdrawal के लिए खड़े होते हैं, and we see the senior citizen, grappling, not able to understand. So just spare a moment, because that can be a crucial moment in present times, it's just like saving somebody's life on the road when you know approach them with a helping hand of telling them you can do it this way. You can save a lot of money and a lot of hassle to them, right? That's why Indian knowledge system needs to be standing parallelly to artificial intelligence by being very empathetic to the human beings around us, right? So this was another example when you know when दो लोगों की लड़ाई में हमेशा तीसरा कोई ना कोई बेनिफिट लेता है. ये तो हम सबने सुना है ना बंदर की कहानी. Yes, right? So at the time of communal wars, communal conflicts, so कोई भी कुछ भी unattributed. Pehले word that I cross verification was the first word that I gave you. Next is unattributed. कोई भी वीडियो वायरल हो रही है अगर वो unattributed है, क्रेडेंशियल नहीं है, उसके ऑथेंटिक रिपोर्टर्स ने नहीं बनाई है जो एक्रेडिटेड रिपोर्टर्स होते हैं. Nowadays everybody is a citizen journalist, right? Without disclosing their everybody has a smartphone, so everybody is a citizen journalist, right? So they have the gadgets and they can add to the misinformation very easily, very quickly. That's why it's very very important for us to look at the credentials. Accredited है कि नहीं है? अगर नहीं है तो don't believe, right? So at the time of this, you know, misinformation spread in the form of a video which further added as a fuel to the fire. Another important case is digital arrest. So there was this Agra model, there was this model who was duped, you know, she was duped of 99,000 after cyber criminals they impersonated. Impersonation is आप किसी की भी आपने सुना होगा पहले के टाइम पे impersonation क्या होता था, पुलिस के ड्रेस में आ जाते थे, या आपने कॉन्फ्लिक्ट जोन में सुना होगा कि आर्मी की ड्रेस पहन के वो चले जाते हैं and they add you know fuel to the fire. So यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा है, they are become impersonating as CBI officers and threatening कि हम आपको digitally arrest कर लेंगे, we will block you digitally and you know trusting कि भाई ये CBI officers हो सकते हैं. Somebody was duped of 99,000, right? And this was reported in Hindustan Times, right? So when you become media literate, when you are cross-verifying, when you are looking at the credentials, you are becoming media literate. So you will be able to navigate information overload very easily. You will be looking at the key pointers there कि मुझे इतने सारे information में उसका credit check करना है कि है या नहीं है, rather than going through the entire information first, right? So अगर इसके ये parameters correct होंगे, will I read the further information, right? So it will help you navigate information overload, combating misinformation and fake news, understanding media influence, right? Media shapes our opinions. How do we form our opinions? Have you ever thought how do we form our opinions the way we think? Yes. It is either through the family discussions or through listening to the influencers. But where are they also getting their information from? They are also getting their information from media. So if we have to say media is a samundar of information and rest all of us are tributaries to it, right? We are passing it on to the friends, to the family members, to the colleagues, right? So when we are media literate, we will know that this is a false information, I have spotted it and I will further not disseminate it on a conscious level, right? Without fully being aware of it. So this is the conscious call that we all have to take, right? Next is it empowers. Once we take this conscious call, it will empower all of us in different forms in taking decisions and believing and bringing the trust back in society. Right? So misinformation, disinformation, somebody rightly said, is deliberate and non-deliberate. It's only the intention that matters. If the intention is to spread false news, then it is disinformation. Right? Other common types. Now, other common types of misinformation can be false context. Sometimes when we are looking at the information, कोई photo देख रहे हैं, कोई video देख रहे हैं, we don't cross check whether how many times this has been shared. जो हमें WhatsApp पे forward आया है, कितने हाथों से पास होके आया है और उन्होंने comments में क्या लिखा है, क्या नहीं लिखा है उसके बारे में, right? उसका context क्या था जब ये share हुई थी. We don't really look at the background history of it, right? So misinformation can come in the form of a false context, fabricated content. फेस चेंज कर देंगे थोड़ा सा, है ना, नीचे के सबटाइटल्स चेंज कर देंगे वीडियो में या फिर फोटोग्राफ में. अगर कोई हेडलाइन है या कैप्शन है, वेरी स्मार्टली वन वर्ड माइट चेंज which might have changed the entire context of it, right? So manipulated content, false beliefs, unproven remedies and treatments are shown, and this is how the misinformation spreads. Why do we fall prey to misinformation? Because of lesser time, complex information, too much of information, and we also want to sometimes we want to be part of the peer group, है ना. हमें लगता है कि हमें भी knowledgeable दिखना चाहिए, right? तो मेरे पास information आई है, मेरे पास time नहीं है, I am traveling, so अगला बंदा खुद ही पढ़ लेगा, मैं बस उसको forward कर देता हूँ, right? So when you are in a hurry, when you are in a rush yourself, why don't you put a stop there only? What is the need for you to share it? Don't share it if you have not gone through it, right? So once you put the stop, you are doing a wise work there. अगर आपने खुद ही नहीं पढ़ी है, खुद ही उसको ट्रस्ट नहीं करते हैं, किसी और को क्यों आप आगे स्प्रेड कर रहे हैं, right? So that is one thing we have to all do it, right? Verify credible information, and we will also see sometimes how media has certain biases, and because of those biases, how do they angle certain information, right? So motives, sometimes the motives of sharing false information can be a genuine error, it can be a satire, मजाक में बोल दिया, it can be propagating for a cause, publicity purpose के लिए किया था, financially you wanted to have some gains, there can be political motives also, there can be psychological biases, and there can be cultural background to it as well. Now dangers, I think dangers we all know, because if it spreads, then the social fabric would be threatened. If in one line I have to say is we will not trust each other, and sometimes we may even start to doubt our own selves, right? And this will not be very good for democracy, right? Now let's hear it from you. What do you think are your primary sources of information? आप information कहाँ से लेते हैं? One word बता सकते हैं quickly. What's your primary source of information? The girl in the specs? ChatGPT. Okay.
TV, radio,
traditional media, newspapers, news channels, yes. Mobile phones. YouTube. Right? So most of you see, the first response was not family, friends. These days it is ChatGPT. We are trusting ChatGPT more. So now you see how close AI has come to us. That we are not trusting ourselves, our family, our close networks from past 40 years, 20 years or 30 years, but in just 2-3 years, ChatGPT. Right? It has become that close, and subconsciously it has made a space for itself. Right? So you can label whether these, now you can do this exercise back home, spend 5 minutes today. Label these, whatever comes to your mind as source of information, first primary source of information, go back home today and label these, whether these are reliable sources or non-reliable. Okay? Once you do the brain once you do the brain mapping and try to tune into it every day, right, it will become part of your system. That's the only way forward, right? आपने लिख लिया ये रिलायबल है, ये नॉन रिलायबल है। जब हम किसी काम को लिख लेते हैं ना, वो हमारे टू डू लिस्ट गोल्स में आ जाता है, आज नहीं करते हैं, कल करते हैं, कल नहीं करते हैं, फिर से कैरी फॉरवर्ड करके लिखेंगे, तो इट विल बिकम अ प्रैक्टिस, राइट? सो यू विल नो कॉन्शियसली दिस इज नॉन रिलायबल, नहीं पहले मैं रिलायबल सोर्स के पास जाता हूँ और बाद में इसको देखेंगे, राइट? सो यू हैव टू मेक अ लिस्ट ऑफ रिलायबल एंड नॉन रिलायबल सोर्सेज ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन इन योर डे टू डे लाइफ। टीवी चैनल है तो कौन सा रिलायबल है? अगर आप रेडियो सुन रहे हैं तो रेडियो में भी कौन सा रिलायबल है? और रिलायबल को एस्टैब्लिश करने के लिए व्हाट इज द फंडा? फैक्ट्स, फिगर्स, है ना? अगर डीडी दूरदर्शन के इतने वॉचर्स हैं, ऑथेंटिक तो होगा ना, गवर्नमेंट उसको सपोर्ट कर दिया, एटलीस्ट ऑथेंटिक इंफॉर्मेशन तो होगी ना। हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू हियर नो अबाउट नेटफ्लिक्स? एवरीवन। Amazon प्राइम है ना, Z5, सारे OTT प्लेटफॉर्म्स पता है सबको। ओके, हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू आर अवेयर ऑफ वेव्स? वीडियो ऑडियो पब्लिसिटी प्लेटफॉर्म, the OTT platform of Government of India, which is free of cost, available through your you can download it as an app from your Google Play Store. Free of cost. And I am loving this. My son is telling me, मम्मा आप तो वेव्स के ब्रांड एम्बेसडर हो, आप जहाँ पर भी जा रहे हो उसको प्रमोट कर रहे हो, because the kind of content that is there, DD नॉस्टैल्जिया एक लेबल है करके वहाँ पर आप जो लोग फ्लॉप शो देखते थे, है ना, और DD2 के जो भी आप देखते थे, so there is a DD nostalgia, there is a science program wherein it talks about all the scientists. There is a very nice program for young kids also, right? And for youngsters like you will get information without spending for it. You just have to trust the app Waves. Okay? Yeah. So how do you make a reliable information? Yes. So how do you make a reliable and non-reliable information? Based on the data, right? And how do you get the data and cross-check that data? I have given you some of the sites. So whenever you have to follow anything out of the information, just see ज़्यादा लोग किसको believe कर रहे हैं, ज़्यादा लोग किस पे trust कर रहे हैं, और उसको एक बारी cross verify कर लो, बस उतना ही है। एंड वहां पर एक प्रोग्राम है, न्यूज का प्रोग्राम है, कनेक्टिंग डॉट्स। सो आप इतने सारे चलते फिरते आपने यूट्यूब पे कितने एन नंबर्स ऑफ सब्सक्राइब किए होंगे ना, चैनल्स, न्यूज के चैनल्स। सो देयर इज नथिंग ग्रिपिंग अस इन प्रेजेंट टाइम्स बिकॉज आवर रूट्स आर शेकन, राइट? सो वी हैव टू गेट बैक टू आवर रूट्स वंस अगेन, राइट? So make a list of reliable, non-reliable, और वही एक दो फॉलो करिए। वो सागर है, आप ट्रिब्यूटरीज में घूम रहे हैं अभी, yes, this is sound, yes. So वो सागर है, आप ट्रिब्यूटरीज में घूम रहे हैं। So जब तक आप ट्रिब्यूटरीज में घूमते रहेंगे, आपके पास कंप्लेंट्स ज्यादा होंगी, सॉल्यूशंस कम होंगे, right? Moving forward, reliable versus non-reliable. So you have to check for authority, credibility, transparency, whether somebody is transparent about it or just doing sensationalism, clickbait, है ना? एक बहुत फैंसी सी हेडलाइन चलाकर आईबॉल्स रोल हो जाते हैं, फैंसी से jargons यूज करके people feel that since because it is sounding smart, it is sounding complex, we are not able to decipher it, it must be good. But that is where we are going wrong, right? So sensational and clickbait may don't become a boon to them, right? So go for fact-based reporting. Fact-based reporting means figures, facts. Is there a source which is accepting it or not? फिर जब आप वो सोर्स देखते हैं, अगेन क्रॉस वेरीफाई दैट सोर्स। वो सोर्स कौन है? आज मैं किसी का भी XYZ नाम लगा देता हूँ रिपोर्ट में, राविया इज सेइंग दिस, but who is राविया? How does it matter to people? Then go cross check, ये राविया नाम का शख्स जो है ट्विटर पे है कि नहीं है, फेसबुक पे है कि नहीं है. सो आजकल की डेट में मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल हैव सोशल आइडेंटिटीज. चेक दोज आइडेंटिटीज ऑन द सोशल प्लेटफॉर्म्स. अगर वो ऑथेंटिक होंगे, कुछ ना कुछ तो सोशल आइडेंटिटी मिलेगी ना आपको. You will be able to disseminate whether it's the work of a chatbot, whether it's a pseudonym, or whether there is a genuine personality identity. Got it? So then this will help you get a very balanced and objective, rational way of thinking and accepting things and bringing them home, making them part of your ecosystem. आज की डेट में जब आप ये सब चेक कर लोगे, लाइक द वे आई रेफर्ड वेव्स टू यू, आप भी अपने घर में, अपने नेटवर्क में लोगों को जाकर अच्छी चीजों के बारे में बता सकते, राइट? नाउ अगेन लेट्स लुक एट सम ऑफ द एग्जांपल्स. Now when you are looking at the sources, especially news में या कहीं पे quotes are used है ना. हम तो जो लोग न्यूज़ बैकग्राउंड से हैं वो समझते हैं कि जब हम न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ते हैं हम उसको ऑथेंटिक क्यों बोलते हैं, क्योंकि सोर्सेज ने बोला है ना, किसी ना किसी को क्रेडिट दे देते हैं. सो लेट्स लुक एट दिस नाउ. द ऑफिशियल स्पीकिंग ऑन द कंडीशन ऑफ anonymity remarked, this scheme is launched in January next year and will benefit millions of people. This, he said, is directly from top authorities. This is example 1. Okay? You have to later, I'll be giving you 2-3 examples. You have to later on tell me whether it is a news piece, whether it is an analytical piece, or whether it is an opinion. Right? So you can write number 1, opinion है, news है या analytical है. I'll ask you later. So this is example number 1. You have to just write जहाँ पर भी है या in your mind if you can do it, whether it is news, opinion or an analytical piece. Okay. So moving forward, I was just looking at the time as well. So this is second example, quoting an instant messaging forward. The physician said this method of treatment is getting popular on social media and is going viral. I have no doubt that this would prove to be an ideal treatment for TB. This is second example. You have to in your mind decipher whether it can be a news piece, opinion or analysis. Quickly moving to the third example now. The speed trial was aimed at increasing the sectional speed at 130 km per hour. After the results come, we will take a call on increasing the speed of important trains. Bangalore Divisional Railway Manager Yogesh Mohan told DH. Deccan Herald is the local paper there, right? So are you done? So out of the 3, tell me which one do you think is the news piece?
The last one.
The last one, because it is giving you the name of the person with the designation and the name of the paper wherever they have disclosed that information, right? So in case if you have to believe any of the quotes, number 1, anonymity hai. The word, you have to quickly, you can quickly make out the word anonymity is written, we can't rely on this information. Moving on to the second one, this physician told, which physician? कोई भी teacher कुछ भी बोल देता है और news reports में we just say the sources, the authorities. What is authorities? If they can't come out open, if the reporter has not consulted them, so that's why he is hiding their identity. So if they can't come out open and claim anything, why is there in the newspapers then? Right? So if something can be claimed, it will be there. If something can't be claimed, if something is hidden, we don't have to give space to that hidden variables, right? So yeah, so news versus opinion. Any idea what is the difference between news and opinion? Although it's a very repeatedly asked question. मुझे लगता है क्लास में भी आपके टीचर्स बोलते होंगे what is news, है ना, elementary है, but news और opinion में difference क्या है? आज के टीवी चैनल्स में, प्राइवेट टीवी चैनल्स में, I have stopped watching them, you know, it's been long because I feel it's a waste of time because I'm giving more time to their views and opinions, and everybody, mind you, has an opinion, and that comes from a cognition, right? So I don't have so many years of my life ahead to look at their cognitions and understand and then interpret, right? I have my own goal of life. So I will be looking at the information for the information purpose. I'll be looking at the news which is providing me not views but information, authentic information. So today I will decide I will not sit for 1 hour's long opinion pieces going on in the battle of, you know, my opinion is better than yours and your opinion is better than mine, right? Go for news. Your time is very precious as students. You have a life ahead and you have to make a beautiful life ahead. You can't let it go vain, right? So today you will decide that we are not going to spend our time in those endless opinions that are shared for their own agenda and not serving any purpose. And when we are looking at them, we are just giving them TRPs, we are just giving them clickbaits, and we are adding to their false numbers which they project, and then based on that they make their own ecosystem, right? So today we will decide that we will not add to it, right? Yeah. So yes, this is another exercise of news opinion analysis. So here also quickly you can see, if you see left side Chandrayaan 3 news story, this is just a quote. Here the suggestive word is must allocate, है ना? So the moment we say Chandrayaan 3 mission is a testament to India's scientific prowess, but government must allocate. So we are telling the government. So is it a news, is it an opinion, or is it an analysis? Opinion. It's an opinion. Brilliant. Next, ISRO successfully launched Chandrayaan 3 aiming for a soft landing on the lunar south pole. The launch took place from Sriharikota on Friday morning. News, because it tells you what is happening, where is it happening, when is it happening, right? The W's, 5 W's, sabne padha hoga. When, where, what is happening. But what happens is we just limit it to news. But we need to expand it to media or any information. What is happening in that picture? What is happening in that video? Where is it happening? Quickly do you all have Earth, Google Earth. You all have maps which gives you a street view की option. Quickly look at the street view. क्या ये picture वहीं की खींची गई है कि नहीं है जो claim है? So often we just limit it to the news part of it, but not the media literate part of it. कोई भी piece of information है उसमें 5 W's, ना कि just news, research or day-to-day life of any information, right? We can put those 5 W's to use. Then this Chandrayaan 3, ISRO achieved what other nations spent billions on, underscoring India's growing role. So this is, what is this? Analysis. Brilliant. So out of the news informations that you have got, somebody sat to analyze them and tell the way forward. Suggest some solution, suggestive of prediction for future. So it's an analytical piece. Very good. And the last one, India's ODI series win against Australia. The moment the word concern, although they gave the information, that was a tricky one. Yes, they gave the information, but you see, rounder remains, though the lack of a genuine all-rounder remains a concern. Remains a concern for whom? The moment we will question whom, 5 W's में से So it will become a opinion piece, right? It is not just a news piece, right? So these are the keywords. The moment we are looking at the information, look at the keywords, right? Must hai, concern hai, right? So billions, underscoring, ये growing role बता दिया, predictive of future है, right? So the moment these keywords are there, you'll be able to label them in news है, opinion है या analysis है. So how do we further address misinformation? I hope you're not getting bored. Yeah, so how do we further address misinformation? Those of you who are getting bored or very tired, you can get up for a while. This is the practice which Akash, being my student, he knows. I often do it in class. I ask students to flex their muscles. Get up for a while, flex your muscles, and you can easily sit down again. Because even when small interventions we bring in our regular patterns, we bring freshness. Right? So how to address misinformation? You can observe. Observation is the key. When you observe those keywords, you don't have to necessarily read the entire paragraph. So number one is observation, and then don't think that this is apparently in quote, so obviously ये opinion होगा या वैसा होगा. So don't fall for apparent information. Verify information by using various tools that you have. So step back, observe, decide if it is trustworthy information or not. Because the person who's covering it, like for example, if it is coming from a scientist, right? His name is there, his association is there. You just have to do a Google search for the name, organization. Authentic है, वहाँ पे काम करता है. कभी-कभी तो organization की website पे भी the name of the people who are working with them is mentioned. So that's how you authenticate that this is a genuine piece of information. Now, of the following posts, now we will try to identify trustworthy and non-trustworthy. For example, this particular Twitter post. Now you will have to tell me whether it is trustworthy or not.
Not.
Why?
क्योंकि ये नासा वालों ने इसको नहीं किया, किरण बेदी ने किया, जो कि कोई लाइक स्पेस वगैरह की चीज़ों से बिल्कुल अनरिलेटेड है और ये ऑफिशियली इन्होंने लाइक दिया नहीं है.
Okay. Anyone else? Right. Now let's look at the second example. Then we will be able to figure out which one is trustworthy. Now let's look at the second example.
हम सेकंड वाला ट्रस्टवर्दी है क्योंकि उन्होंने खुद उसको दिया है, और फर्स्ट वाला ओपिनियन है क्योंकि उन्होंने खुद से ही उसको देख के ऐसे दिमाग में बना लिया कि साउंड उसकी ओम है, बट ऐसे एक्चुअली में नहीं है.
Yes, exactly. You're very correct. Actually, what happened around because it was so intertwining, it can really put you you have to really put your hats off here to think कि क्या हो सकता है, because it is so closely overlappingly done. NASA ने home, there is a sound home के बारे में ट्वीट किया, right? उसको further हमारे authentic sources, किरण बेदी, right? She wrote कि ओम साउंड है, right? And further उसको आगे किसी और ने कोट कर दिया, looking at the fact that किरण बेदी ने ओम बोला है तो ओम ही होगा, but not going to the original source कि नासा ने क्या बोला था. उन्होंने बोला यूनिवर्स में साउंड है ओम ओ करके, और उन्होंने उसको ओम कर दिया, and further somebody else also shared it without verifying from the original source, right? So yes. This is also another example. I'll be sharing it with Akash. He can quickly go through this with the students later on. Right. So what are the takeaway from these examples is do not be taken by instant messaging of the post. Having a credible name or photograph does not mean that a post is genuine. Okay. Do not click on any link even when the claims to be from an authorized source. Double check the content of the message with legitimate sources. अगर वो नासा की साउंड के बारे में बात कर रही हैं, so like somebody said, although Kiran Bedi is holding a very dignified position and a prominent person in the society, but she is nowhere close to NASA. She is not worked in NASA. So that means अगर वो NASA को बारे में बोल रहे हैं, तो हम NASA की वेबसाइट या NASA के साइंटिस्ट को क्यों ना बिलीव करें वो क्या बोल रहे हैं? पहले we must cross verify with them, right? So double check, because even authentic prominent people can sometimes go wrong, and we have seen examples of politicians saying this, and there is something happens which goes wrong in their speeches, right? So Google the content of the message, which will lead you to the fact of the information. So be aware of these when you are verifying a post, whether the message is loud, you need to ask to act to share further or not. Authorized logo is there. Now, very importantly, we must not just look at the text, we must also look at the logos, whether logos are there. है ना, ये जुगाड़ी बाबा JB लिखा है, जुगाड़ी बाबा. If you look at the yellow one, although आप लोग इतनी दूर से शायद पढ़ नहीं पाए होंगे, so we must not just look at the text, we must also open up our mind to the signs, to the visuals that are there. इसमें तो कोई background नहीं है, कुछ pictures में background होती है. So look at the shops पे क्या लिखा है, वो कहाँ के नाम हो सकते हैं, इंडिया के नाम हो सकते हैं, बाहर के नाम हो सकते हैं, right? Look at the pavements. So that will tell you a lot whether the picture is manipulated or not, right? So yeah, authorized logo है कि नहीं है, face authorized है, trustworthy है कि नहीं है, whether there is an exaggeration, whether it is evoking emotions, reasons for evoking those emotions, right? So based on all of this, you can figure out whether you agree with it or you beg to differ with that information which is right in front of you. So with that, we have just finished module 1, and module 2, we'll quickly go through module 2. Do you want to take a break or you want me to continue with module 2? Continue? Yes. Okay. So I think you are liking it. How many of you are liking it? Very nice. Right. Women have to be wise on all the fronts. Right? So module 2 is Google super searchers in times of artificial intelligence. So the objectives would be engage critically and search more efficiently. So like I said, when you're looking at picture, look at the pavements, look at any visual hintings that are there on the background. Okay. So from good searchers, when you're looking at the background, when you're contextualizing, when you're looking at the claim, you're contextualizing and you're looking at the signage, you will be able to become Google super searchers, right? So even when you're Googling something, अब क्या हुआ ना, we didn't have another planet. This is the favorite example that I give, and Akash is already aware of this example, right? Because my PhD was also revolving around that, and towards the end of it I figured out something. So I figured out the fact that from the physical spaces we had virtual spaces, and all the wars we have had, or all the wars that are going on, are only for spaces, right? So since we can't have another space in the form of a planet, somebody innovated, somebody might have, this is my theory, I could be totally 200% wrong, but this is what is my assumption, right? So assumption is, since we can't have another space, another planet, so somebody decided let's have a virtual space, right? So we all shifted to virtual space at ease, without spending much, part of our day-to-day activities in life. So we swiftly shifted to the virtual world, and what did we see there? We started seeing ourselves like a mirror. It was our mirror image. How we look at the mirror every day, we get up, we get ready, and how we are looking, we started posting all of that. What we are cooking, we appreciated earlier, we not appreciated in 4 people, now we are doing it globally, right? So on that space, whatever was a lacuna in the physical space, we try to compensate that from the virtual space. Nobody likes to be disliked. That's why we thought, let's not have a disliking option on the posts. Let's have just likes there. Isn't it? So whatever was the lacuna in the physical space, we had a virtual space for that. And what happens? Slowly, gradually, whatever biases we had on the physical spaces, humans है ना, कहीं पे भी जाएंगे, tendencies तो same ही रहेंगी. So we carried those biases also there. So once we carried those biases also there on the virtual space, now we need to clean both the physical space as well as the virtual space. How will all of this happen? पहले तो हम अपनी फिजिकल स्पेस ही क्लियर नहीं कर पा रहे थे. अब हमें फिजिकल भी करना है, अब हमें वर्चुअल भी करना है. And that is why we are under tremendous pressure. So क्या solution है? Anybody? Is there any solution? We have had a lot of revolutions. I know Akash knows the answer. So we have had a lot of revolutions, है ना? Green revolution, white revolution, and we know the result of all of that. Industrial revolution. अब हमारे पास information revolution. पहले हम बोलते थे information नहीं, अब information अगर इतनी ज़्यादा है. What is the solution ahead? Any idea? What revolution next? Of all the revolutions, after that, what revolution next are we looking for? This answer can be personal. I feel it can be human revolution, which is the most important. भाई physical में भी humans थे, virtual में भी humans हैं, तो problem कहाँ पे? Exactly. So this is my assumption. I think the next revolution should be human revolution microscopically. So microscopically, if the human revolution is happening, macroscopically, everything more or less by and large, उसके SOPs correct ही होंगे, right? So moving forward now, how you become super searchers, right? So you need to now navigate those virtual spaces with physical as well as virtual, both the techniques together. तो हम ये नहीं बोल सकते अपनी मदर को, यार आप पुराने स्कूल ऑफ थॉट के हो, आपका ये क्रिटिकल एनालिसिस यहाँ पर नहीं चलेगा. That can be wrong. But sometimes if she is telling me टेम्पल के ये जो बता रहे हैं ना, नहीं ऐसी बैकग्राउंड ही नहीं थी, वहाँ पे तो तालाब ही नहीं था, so she can be 100% correct. That can be a distorted piece of information in the form of a photo किसी टेम्पल की लगाई है, बैकग्राउंड किसी का लगाया है और आपको बता रहे हैं कि यहाँ पे बहुत अच्छा टेम्पल है, and go visit, and you end up spending a lot of money visiting there and then you find nothing. So that time you will regret not listening to your mom which told you कि वहाँ पर उस टाइम पे एक तालाब भी होता था, अब अगर नहीं भी है तो कुछ तो आना चाहिए था ना, right? So don't undermine the wisdom, age-old wisdom as well. So that's why I said, along with artificial intelligence, we need to now stand more closer to our Indian knowledge systems. So there is a quiz time now. You'll have to look at the pictures and give me some answers. So is this a real product sold in India? Lay's all new jalebi flavor. No, ma'am. Where is it sold?
Nowhere.
Only on internet. What makes you say that it's not sold here?
Jalebi.
Because of jalebi. Packaging, right? Huh? You are correct. Most of you are correct. This is sold in Pakistan and not in India. But the fact that you looked at the visuals, you tried to critically think, right? So that's very nice. Now look at this picture and tell me, which one is the real, A or B?
B.
What makes you
A.
How many A's? Okay, almost 30%. How many B's? Okay. So A is a real picture?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you say that?
Second one is to
हम एडिटिंग से पता चलता है।
very creative.
एडिटिंग से पता चल रहा है। Okay.
Details है बहुत सारी.
Yes, there is this. A is a real picture. There is a house which is built, in Poland somewhere. So once I share these slides with Akash, how can you check? Are you aware of Google Lens?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So you can make use of Google Lens. Click this picture and you will get the context. ये कहाँ की picture है? Right? Is just looking at the building, somebody can be innovative and somebody was innovative, right? Just looking at the innovation, you can't reach to a conclusion कि ये real नहीं होगा, right? So when you use Google Lens, it will give you the context. बताएगा वो कहाँ पर है, कब बनाया और place, right? Along with the name of the designer also, right? Yes. What about this picture? Real or not real? Real. What makes you say that it's a real picture?
Fake.
Why do you say it's fake and why do you say it's real?
मैम क्योंकि बीच पे आई डोंट बिलीव कि इतने कम पानी में शिप आ सकती है. दिस फर्दर.
But वो हाँ exactly ठीक है. This is your assumption views, but this actually did happen. Okay, there was a massive cargo ship which got stranded in Mumbai Juhu, and you can again further search when you are looking at the Google Lens. Okay, so it will give you the context when it happened, whether ये जो tagline है real है. So you can use these headlines that are there as a prompt. How many of you know of ChatGPT?
Yes, ma'am.
How many of you know of Gemini? Very good. So when you are getting these headlines and text as phrases, you can use them as prompts. है ना, quotes में लिख के हम prompts use करते हैं and it give you the real context to it, right? So this is how you can become visually more literate, right? So now you have to check for the claims, you have to check for the sources, and then with the tools that we all have bought. हमने शायद Nikon की workshop together. Akash, you were there in Nikon की workshop photo. Okay, so we did a workshop, photography workshop by Nikon. यूनिवर्सिटी में हुई थी तो मुझे लगा शायद आकाश ने की होगी. So उसमें हमें ये बोला गया था कि हमने अभी पिछले 4-5 सालों में सबने क्या खरीदा है? मोबाइल खरीदा. For what purpose? कम्युनिकेशन तो हम इसमें हार्डली करते हैं. बहुत ही प्रोफेशनल हो गया है, right? We all have purchased cameras, right? We are clicking photos and we are putting it for professional, lesser personal uses. All of you must look at the photographs. I think they are more tech savvy than us. But if I look at the photographs that I have more of junk than the family photographs which really make moments in my life, right? So this is the kind of investment that we have had of money, time and everything here, right? So but nonetheless now slowly and gradually with the equipments that we have already bought, we have all bought the cameras with us. So we will make use of these cameras to become more wise in finding a way forward when it comes to information and navigating in social spaces, right? So you will check the claims, you will check the sources, and you will trace with the help of Google Lens, Gemini, ChatGPT. They will give you the context. And how many of you, after looking at the context, when we Google something, how many of you go to the page 2? Google gives you first 10 blue ticks देता है ना, 10 blue links देते हैं. How many of us go to the page 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 pages होते हैं ना? Not many, है ना? हम एक ही पेज में डिसाइड कर लेते हैं. एक ही पेज में भी सिर्फ ऊपर में जो स्पॉन्सर एड्स वाले समटाइम्स दिया होता है, information, right? So that's where we have to be very, very careful, right? When we are looking at or when we are tracing the context. Right? So search engine, so this brings me close to search engine pages and their results, okay? For example, this continuing with that Lay's flavor packet, okay? So when you look at this, when you put this, whether it is real or fake, you'll get the links, and when you get the links, right, you have to look at different pages. You have to look at how many people have liked it, how many people have commented on it, the figures, stats, everything. Instagram is there, right? So it's giving you various social identities onto which it is available. Based on to those social identities, when you cross-verify them, when you cross-check them, you're able to understand the context, and thus you're able to understand whether it is real or not. This was a very simple example, but sometimes you can have a very complex things as well. Right? So the choice of words matter, right, when you are looking at the information. So this is also very important when you are writing the prompt. किस तरह का prompt लिखना है, कौन से keywords लिखने हैं, so that you get the right kind of information. If you are writing very broad, you will get very broad search results, but you will not get specific results, right? So that's the time. एक ही बारी लिखने से आपको information नहीं मिल जा रही है. So what do super searchers do? Super searchers normally, after writing the prompt, there was this experiment which happened, and they figured out. They did this experiment on normal people. How do they do their searches, and how do super searchers are doing their searches? They figured out super searchers, it is part of their habit to be critically aware, to be looking at the facts, figures, and they do it very fast. And once they write the prompt, they don't just get hell-bent to that prompt, they quickly go back and make changes in that prompt swiftly, so that they are getting better results, right? So this is the difference that they found. For example, there is this study, okay? So new study reveals Tyrannosaurus rex's sensitive side, okay? So this is further being claimed by someone else. So now when we have to look at whether it's a real information or not, what do we do? So when you look at the headline, new study. So this is a study conducted which reveals that Tyrannosaurus, they have a sensitive side. Further is written the dinosaur's lower jaw was covered in nerve endings that enabled a fine-tuned bite. Right? So if in your search you just write Tyrannosaurus sensitive side, you might not get any information related to the jaw, right? Because there is a claim which is further being claimed, right? So when you have to, whether this claim has jaws in it or not, so if you just write half of the information, you will not get rightful links, right? But then when you combine Tyrannosaurus sensitive side with lower jaw into it, you will get even more information, right? You will get AI answers, right? What are rest of the people asking questions, and from there you can take quick prompts and further put those prompts to get even more specific answers, right? So now when you put this Tyrannosaurus rex jaw, you got a lot of images also, right? Most of the times we are looking at the text and not at the images, but when you are getting the images, you can even further search those images onto which platforms have these images being shared. So which will further give you authenticity of the information, right? Yeah. So this is about the pages and how you can go on to the rest of the pages for further research purposes. So this is another important thing, which is SIFT. Now there is this formula SIFT. SIFT steps to improve information literacy. What is SIFT? S stands for soft, I is investigate the source, F is find better coverage, T is trace claims, quotes and media to the original context. So this SIFT words actually is a sum up of all that we have been talking from module 1 to module 2. So when the information is not correct, stop. When you are in doubt, stop. Don't pass it on. Read it further when you have the time. Right? Investigate the source. The source is written. And a JB as a source is whether it's an authentic source or not. So check the sources. Find better coverage. If somebody is claiming, find that source, whether they are available. Nowadays, all institutions have a professional identity. Right? So there is no institution in present times, whether it is local or global, which does not have a virtual identity. Right? So you can check those sources. And then if you are looking at the context or text, find better coverage of those sources. Who is writing? Whether it is a credible person who is writing, whether it is a credible website, or just random portal persons or random bloggers or random vloggers. Right? Who are actually experimenting or whiling away their time with the technology that they have. Right? And then of course you can trace the claims, you can check the quotes and the media to find the original context. So this sums up what we have done so far. There is a So another 10-15 minutes I think I should be able to do. I'm sorry I exhausted. Is internet a problem?
Much of the content we find online is not original. The information is often been re-reported multiple times. And in many cases, the more it circulates, the more it's needed to change. It can be stripped of essential context, altered to the point where you may see a radically different version of an event or a research study. Images often get reused online, and it's hard to know if they've been manipulated. That's why it's important to consider the context of images, claims, or quotes you come across. In this case, tools like reverse image search can help you get the full picture.
Go to the Google Images page and click on the camera icon in the search bar. There, you can either paste in the URL of an image or upload an image to reveal a Google search page. If you're on your phone, you can do a reverse image search with Google Lens. Reverse image search will give you information so you can understand the right context about where an image was originally taken, see if it may have been manipulated, and find other sites where the same or similar images appear. You can also do a quick Google search for a claim you want to know more about. If independent fact checkers have investigated it, snippets may appear below your results to help you understand whether the claim is true, false, or misleading. Still better equipped to determine the validity of the images, quotes, and claims you come across. Now you're on the right path to more reliable info.
So you just saw about the reverse image search that we can do. A lot of you go through like you're walking in a park or anything and you're not aware of a plant. How many of you really do a reverse search to find out the names of the plants? How many of you really? So this was about how you can use reverse image search, right? So how many of you are very, very curiositive by nature, curious to know about things that are around? A lot of you. So you can all be very good reporters because, first and foremost, principle to be a good reporter is to be a seeker, to be very curious about the things that are there. And that's where the observation and the research starts, right? So you can make use of Google reverse images to be looking at the tradition, to be looking at the history. If you're passing through any monument, if you're going by any park, if there is one fabulous plant that you come across or a tree which you feel has a very different unique leaves. So you can do Google Lens and look up the history of that tree, where it originates, where does it come from, right? So these are small interventions that you can bring in your normal day-to-day routine as well. I think I'm stuck somewhere. So now we will look at the AIs and the must for artificial intelligence.
Ready to get started with generative AI? Ready to get started with generative AI? Here are 5 must-knows. AI is a machine learning model, not a human. AI might provide a response that seems so unique you may wonder if it's human. But AI can't think for itself or feel emotions. It's just great at picking up patterns, known as training. Use AI to empower, assist, and inspire you. AI can help you kickstart the creative process, but it's not there to do the work for you. That's your role as the creator. AI can and will make mistakes. Since generative AI is a work in progress, it may make things up, known as a hallucination. For example, it may predict who the top gymnast in 2035 will be, even though this information isn't available yet. Critically evaluate responses. Always check information that's presented as fact. When in doubt, double check it with Google search. Watch this space as generative AI evolves. Generative AI is a quickly evolving technology, which is why it's critical that it's developed and used responsibly. Learn more at ai.google.
So you learned about one more new thing, ai.google, right? So you can also go through this website and look up more information. Now I don't know how many of you have realized so far, when we were in the physical world, है ना, क्या हमें कोई एक व्यक्ति कुछ बोल देता था और हम उसको ट्रस्ट कर लेते थे? Really? We never questioned our parents? No, we did, right? We questioned. अगर वो कुछ बता रहे थे ऐसे करना है तो हमने बोला नहीं भाई, इसका लॉजिक क्या है, क्यों करना है ऐसे ही. मंडे को अगर ब्लू पहनना है तो क्यों पहनना है ब्लू? ट्यूसडे को अगर ये कलर पहनना है तो क्यों पहनना है ना? So our parents told us certain things, but we questioned them, isn't it? Our friends told us something, we questioned them, we laughed it off, or we asked them, "Arey, तेरे को कैसे पता है?" Right? So is the case in virtual world also. We are forgetting the fact that there was no one truth which existed in the physical world. So how can that be the case with the virtual world? There can be no one truth in the virtual world as well. So we need to cross verify, and one platform can't be the source for all. Sometimes you will have to do the Google Lens, sometimes you will have to look at the images, sometimes you will have to understand it through the context, sources, right? So put together the amalgamation of all will help you become good critical thinkers. Even if when you are using ChatGPT, don't think that it is a foolproof answer for all, right? So you can take help to make a framework, right? But then within that framework you have to do multi-sourcing on the digital platforms as well, right? So for example, now if you look at these searches were made, picture 1 and picture 2. So when picture 1 was searched, right, it gave you a lot of context to it, right? And on the right side, if you see these boxes that you are seeing, so these boxes, these are featured snippets. These are called featured snippets. Okay, we are going through so many links and links and links, but we never go through these featured snippets, or sometimes we skip these featured snippets, which gives you the context and takes you to multi-platforms onto which this information can be verified from, right? So we must look at the snippets as well, featured snippets, right? Now for example, the picture, second picture on the right side, this is AI generated image, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But this is all manipulated. The garbage was lying elsewhere, tower is elsewhere, right? But when you look at it very minutely and closely, you will be able to see यहाँ पर एक street light है जिसकी सिर्फ right side दिख रही है, left side नहीं दिख रही है. See, if you right in the center of the image. So there is a street pole which has the right side to it, but there is a tendency of the left side as well, but वो photo manipulation हुआ है, right? So although it is AI generated, and I have told you AI generated, right? But otherwise it would have been difficult for you to spot, and somebody could claim by this street is very, this is a garbage, a street with a lot of garbage and not good for the health of the people who are walking on this street, and so many people are walking. So they can have clickbait sensational journalism by getting these elements onto a picture. That this is a tourist spot, so many people are walking on a daily basis, it has a lot of garbage, it needs to be corrected. But the moment you are critical thinkers now, you are looking at the possibilities, you are aware of the fact that in present times, some images can also be generated artificially. Now since you are aware, you started looking at the signages, and when you look at the signage, you spotted, अरे ये एक है दूसरी side तो है नहीं है, this must be a morphed photograph, right? This must be an AI generated, onto whichever platform this must be posted, right? You will be able to critically think that way, right? So when you are looking at something, so many images are coming on to you, right? So many pages are coming on to you. Now you have to look at the credible. If it is a news piece, Beyond में है, BBC में है, so you will go through the most authentic, credible source of information and then pick up information from there. There is another tool called Synth ID tool. synth ID, you can take a note of it, you can look up it later on. So it gives you watermarking and helps you identify content which is generated by artificial, by using AI, right? So you can upload the link or the image and it will give you the context of that image, right? So we have finished both the modules, and quickly we'll just go through module 3rd, okay, in deepfakes. So critical thinking, different kinds of biases. Now I will come to the biases. Now you know the context, text, source, claim, credibility, authenticity, how to check all of them with the help of apps that you have.
Can I divide students who they have a class?
Yes. But ma'am, we will be sharing a post-test scan code with them.
Can I share the scanner with them and they can
Yes.
answer it at their own time?
Yes. They can take a picture. They can do it later because then they will get the certificates.
You just scan this and you can go and you can do it at your own pace.
Yes,
Right? Or I'll also share the scanner in your group and the DYD students can leave. You have a class with Professor Arif and call sir and tell that you are there in the classroom. Quick, make a move. I'll share the scanner in your group.
So once they fill the pre and post test, you will all get the certificates from Data Leads and Google Meet Leads. So thank you those who were there. Thank you so much for being a part of today's workshop. Yeah, so coming to the 3rd module, which talks about, now you have the awareness, you have the apps, and 3rd one will further open up your mind towards the biases. Okay, like I said in the beginning that there is nothing wrong in having those biases. We all carry one. We all have, right? As I think I am still grappling, but my seniors might agree with me that sometimes we have those biases, but consciously, by doing the job that we are supposed to be doing, we more or less try to take the rightful decision by not getting swayed away with those biases, right? We try to push them aside to take the right decision, which is for the good and the benefit of all, right? So by respecting the jobs that we all have, we try to do as much as we can with those biases, although we carry them. But once you grow up the ladder of life, you need to remove those cognitions that you once had. So what you had once can't really define the entire spectrum of your life, right? आगे दौड़ने के लिए हमें पीछे कुछ छोड़ना भी पड़ता है, आगे जाने के लिए पीछे छोड़ना भी पड़ता है, राइट? और पीछे हम किस लिए आते हैं? उसको इम्प्रूव करने के लिए, उसको बेटर करने के लिए, उसको अपलिफ्ट करने के लिए, राइट? So I think here we will be talking about biases, and there is no harm in having those biases. The only thing is you need to consciously polish your side, and that side which helps you figure out that this is a biased thing and I am not going to support any kind of biases, right? And in the age of deep fakes, people can have those biases and can befool you, right? So, for example, why seeing what you are seeing always may not be true. Now tell me something, out of the two lines that you are looking on the screens, which one do you think is longer? The first one or the second one?
Both. So the same.
Both are equal.
Both are.
How many say the first one is longer? Raise your hands. So most of you, I think, have got it right. So this is an illusion. This is called Muller-Lyer illusion, wherein the arrows, when inside and the arrows when outside makes you feel whether something is longer or whether something is shorter, right? So there, अगर आप लोग दिल्ली कभी गए आप में से, वहाँ पर सीपी में एक illusion करके there is a museum. You can go to that museum and you can see how they have used artificial intelligence and the Mueller-Lyer जो psychology का test है उनको they have brought them together and they have made a physical space where people can actually go and get different kinds of illusions, right? I don't know how many of you have been to Jalandhar. There is a science city. Jalandhar के पास कुपवाड़ा में there is science city. So if you go to the science city, you will be able to see these illusions in the form of various models in the science models that they have. So it's a recommend, if somebody can go, please go for it. Okay. So we can be easily misled by what we do know as what we don't know. So please, we can skip. This also we can skip. What is critical thinking? It helps you analyze information from different perspectives. Like I said, there is no one truth, right? हर स्टोरी का एक ही एंगल नहीं होता है, उसके बहुत सारे पहलू होते हैं. So when you become critical thinkers, you are able to analyze from different dimensions, different things, right? Right. So you can compare it with similar information and you evaluate information critically, and you are able to reach to some conclusions very objectively, very rationally, right? And based on which you decide whether to believe in this information, and if you have to believe, what components of this information has to be believed. Okay, it's important because it helps you promote good information practices. If you are sharing something consciously, it should be shared because it is worth sharing. It is not misleading people. It is going to add to their knowledge, and it is going to be helpful to them. Okay, when you are doing this, you also become responsible social citizens, not just in the physical spaces but also in your virtual spaces. You become also smart consumers. Now we all know that India is the almost largest democracy. Yes? You all agree?
Yes.
Right. So you also agree to the fact that we have become the largest consumers. अगर वेस्ट कुछ डेवलप करता है, वो किसके लिए डेवलप करेगा?
डेवलपमेंट के लिए
नहीं, if they innovate, sorry I used the wrong word, if they innovate a product, वो किसके लिए innovation होगा? Largest consumer, they want maximum benefits, and we will be able to give them maximum benefits is because we are more in numbers. And that's why apart from this, what I was sharing, I have this tendency of sometimes connecting dots. So apart from being just the largest numbers, that is why they are saying that now India is in a capacity to be able to generalize, to be able to make standards, to be able to make SOPs, because we have largest numbers now. And what SOPs we formulate, what generalizations we do, the world will have to follow because we have those numbers. Only thing is, are we looking at those numbers to be standardizing things, to be making those SOPs for the world to follow? If we are, then yes, surely we are going towards Viksit Bharat. And I must congratulate everyone, because we are all going to be part of that Viksit Bharat. And when you are attending this, you are all critically thinking, right? So you take the evidence based on the decisions by being very rational. Okay, like I said, human biases are there. They nobody can deny, because they come with certain cognitions, but you have to be aware of them, right? Doesn't mean that you confront those biases, but you have to be aware to just make your slight way ahead. Okay, so these biases can have some inclination. These can be views, attitudes, we all carry them. Sometimes it goes unchecked when we are in a hurry, especially when we are going through the media reports. We are in a hurry, We are not looking at them even when we are doing research works. We are in a hurry, there is a deadline. Earlier we are sleeping and then we have a deadline. And then when we have a deadline, पहले तो हमने time utilize नहीं किया correctively, and now we do the patchwork. And within that patchwork, we carry those biases in our reports, in our media reports, in our research reports, and then further when it is research, which means further searching it, someone else also takes it, cites it, and it becomes a vicious, unending circle of biases. So human biases, there can be different types. It's preconceived notion, age-old practices, sometimes emotionally charged with certain issues, and they can be deeply coming through political or religious beliefs. Okay. You confirm these biases in the form of stories, opinions, or claims. You check them, and then you take a conscious call of forwarding, not forwarding. And if you're forwarding only to some people in your network, what is the reasons why you're doing that? And sometimes you're also cherry picking out of the information that is available, right? According to your own interests, benefits, right? So what causes illusory biases? Truth which occurs in parts because we are exposed to something multiple times. Familiarity makes the information easier for us to process. Now you are familiar with the keywords. When the information is in front of you, with the familiarity, with the knowledge that you have gained, when you make it a practice, these biases can be reduced. Okay, and then you will go towards more truth, right? So you can have primacy bias in media, which is believing in the first thing and not in the end. Sometimes believing, for example, in the case of a movie, you remember the beginning and you don't remember the end. Recency bias, recently. So recently end खत्म हुआ है आपके सामने, so you believe in the end first and not in the beginning part of it. And you can have motivated reasons for it. Actively searching for and interpreting information in biased way that reinforces our current beliefs. Okay, we have had a certain belief, and whatever beliefs in my environment right now are there, I will be inclined to those. If they are not there, I might not be inclined to those. So those can be called as motivated, motivated reasons for you to be aligning towards a particular agenda, right? So that is why perhaps you are looking at sometimes selectively looking at information, selectively reasoning out that information as well. Okay. So there are 100+ human biases. Okay. And recognizing that our thinking is influenced by biases. Like I said in the beginning, if some of you remember, how do we form our opinions? How do we form our views? From the family, from the people, friends, media, right? And they also further influences or also looking up the media. So in case if media is biased, we all will be biased. So अगर हम उस समुंदर को ही non-biased कर देंगे, so the tributaries will be non-biased and more rational in their approaches, right? And that will give better impact in the society. Okay. So media can have, quickly I'll just go through, media can have a placement bias. कोई story को top पे लगाया है, कोई story को single column में दिया है, कोई story के पीछे color लगाया है, किसी के पीछे headline लगाई है, किसी के पीछे 4 pictures है, किसी के पीछे 2 pictures है, right? So these can be placement bias. And then bias by labeling, right? So many reporters tag a politician's extreme labels on one side of an argument while not giving the other side. So every side has 2 stories, है ना? Every coin has 2 sides to it. So every story has different aspects to it, but for the purpose of convenience, for the purpose of being judgmental, those reporters who go on to cover, they just give you that limited information which inclines their own interest, right? So further what you get is a very biased microscopic view, and you carry that microscopic view forward in your life forever, maybe, right? And you disseminate it to so many people. So how can you spot media bias? Selection of events, sources, stories that are reported, stories that are ignored. Those are the real stories that are ignored actually. Now most of you, when you enter the industry, you take up to be reporters and journalists. So news is nothing but you have to find for it, you have to dig for it. It's not given as a pamphlet to you. Advertising is perhaps done with the pamphlets and brochures, but news is not done with pamphlets and brochures. You have to dig, and you have to dig deeper, right? So you have to look at the stories that are ignored and you have to reason out why are they ignored. And once you are able to figure out why those stories are ignored, you will be able to decode a lot of biases, right? You will be able to understand whose agenda it is serving, right? So what facts and information is present versus what is missing. जो तो present है वो तो ठीक है, but also critically question what is missing, which could have been there, which could have balanced the view. Otherwise, it is skewing towards only one side, skewed story, right? Are the same stories used all of the time? This is also important thing to be looked at. If you are looking at a story written by a reporter, what kind of sources is he quoting? Is he being redundant in reporting only those sources? That means he is confining to a shell. And he is not opening that shell. उसने अपने comfort zone की 4 sources बनाया और वो 4 sources से आगे जा ही नहीं रहा. उन 4 sources के अपने ही limitation में काम कर रहे हैं वो, right? So you need to question. You need to look at the sources, whether they are repeated or not. Are the panelists, when you are looking at the debates, are the panelists repeated? उस channel में यही panelist क्यों है? Question it. Have a critical bent of mind. So अगर ये यही repeat हो रहे हैं इनके sources, यही panelists बार बार repeat हो रहे हैं, are they serving any agenda? So if they are, why should I follow it? Unsubscribe them. Unfollow all of them today only. So you will be able to figure out wheat from the chaff. आपने कितना junk को हटा दोगे अगर आप ऐसा काम करोगे, right? Then diversity in journalists and editors they should have, and also look at the ownership of news organizations. उनका parent root structure क्या है, right? This will help you spot some of the media biases. Right? So pay attention, observe. Attention is a gateway to understanding. Don't see, it can have 2 sides. Maybe you are looking at the sun only from the right side, but there is always a left and the other sides as well. Okay? So elements of reasoning towards critical thinking would be what is the purpose? You question the complexities, whether it is relevant or not, what kind of information you have, what are the concepts which have been shared in any news stories, what is missing, why those concepts are missing, what is it that the author had the assumption, is there a viewpoint, and what is it that he is predicting for future. If you have a message, open, see, read and verify before sharing. Okay. Also, when you receive any information, this is the checklist that you must follow. Who is behind that information? Who's giving it? So this can be applied on a very practical professional lives also. Sometimes people want you to be deliberately diverting from your track and giving you some information, right? So who is behind that information and why they are giving you that information? What is the evidence that they have? What do other sources are talking about it, right? This will help you be very, very clear and sorted in your head, right? Because often we find very confused, right? Most of the times. So why we are confused is because we have given that headspace to a lot of garbage. And when we remove that garbage, it will all be clear. So clues to check information, you adopt lateral readings, okay? Checklist, verifying websites. You look at the domain name, .com है, .in है, right? ABC News है. So आपको उसकी authenticity पता लग जाएगी, right? This is small, but we tend to neglect it. About us section में जाइए, right? Author के बारे में पढ़िए. सटायर लिखा है, ह्यूमर लिखा है, सीरियस नोट पे लिखा है, स्पेलिंग में कुछ एरर्स हैं. इफ इट इज अ false information or misleading information, most of them will have a typo error, will have a special asterisk signs and symbols. So this is what you have to look at, right? So you have to look at the comments. Also importantly, look at the date and time of when that information was shared. So when you are tracking it to the past information which is shared multiple times, what was the date and time when was it shared, you will be able to figure out from the date and time itself ये गलत time में share करना, ये तो पहले इतने बजे हुआ था, right? So we tend to neglect these things. So generative AI, you are using it in the form of text to text, text to image, and text to video or text to audio, right? So these are some of the apps that are there: Chat GPT or Gemini, Midjourney, DALL-E, Runway for machine learning, right? So these are some of the apps that you can go back and look at them, right? Nowadays we have chatbots also. A lot of information, especially from Gemini and Chat GPT, is coming from chatbots, automated. So when you are getting the information or a report question, अगर वो सिर्फ आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के बेसिस पे रिपोर्ट बनी गई है, so context is missing. So if the context is missing, why should you just believe if the context is missing, right? So these are some of the things that you have to really question. And now for example, you can make use of these apps for translation and research purposes. Okay, you can take up any document that you have, any press release that you have. If you want to check whether it is an authentic press release, whether you want to trace it, if you have a piece of document, scan it, put it in these apps and look at the original text rather than what is available on the net in some snippets, in some pocket somewhere, rather than on believing on those blogs. Even Wikipedia, some people refer to Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not an authentic source. It's an open source which anybody can contribute and keep changing, right? So don't believe that, right? You can make use of original documents. You have the apps, use the original documents, scan them, translate them, look up them, so you will be able to find the context, the original context, and you will be also able to see the deviations, right? So these are the prompts that you can write. So prompts में आप लिख सकते हो, you put this picture, you can write translate, summarize, identify possible context to this. So when you are writing a prompt like this, you are going to get very, very specific information. Sometimes you don't know, we are just writing without knowing much how to get the right results. There is another app, perplexity.ai, right? So you can, this is another chatbot style AI powered search engine. जैसे आपका Google एक search engine है, सिर्फ Google is not the only search engine. Google Scholar is also there, but हम लोग Google Scholar तक जाते ही नहीं हैं, हम Google करके ही भूल जाते हैं, right? So perplexity.ai is also used for rigorous research purposes. You can put the research purposes, and sometimes when you are free, when you have the time, you can do a comparative studies or just do a comparative study for your own convenience purposes. कि अगर मैं Google सर्च करता हूँ कोई वर्ड या कोई रिसर्च का टॉपिक, मुझे क्या क्या डायमेंशंस Google देता है और मुझे क्या क्या डायमेंशंस परप्लेक्सिटी देता है, तो मैं Google को किस तरह के पर्पस के लिए या रिसर्च के लिए यूज़ करूँगा और परप्लेक्सिटी को किस तरह के पर्पस के लिए यूज़ करूँगा, because everything has different features. So based on the problem, when you are aware of the features, will you be able to do a good match? Got it? So what is deepfake? The moment I say deepfake to you, any idea? Deepfake, synthetic fake, shallow fake. Okay. So shallow fake तो हम सब ने शायद कभी कभी किया है ना? I have done, for example. Like when I wanted to do my haircut, you get those templates, you have to put your picture and you get different kinds of haircuts onto your face. That's a shallow fake, right? So deep fake, when it's a highly realistic video, audio is there, person's face, voice is replaced with someone else, but it makes it appear as though they are saying or doing things they have never done. There is an expression to it which is just similar to the person. Memes जो है वो आपके सिंथेटिक और मैनिपुलेटेड मीडिया है. मीम्स तो आप सबको पता होगा ना, आप लोग देखते हैं, राइट? सो वो आपका सिंथेटिक एंड मैनिपुलेटेड है, राइट? डीप में क्या है, एक्सप्रेशंस आर आल्सो देयर, फेस इज देयर, टोन इज देयर, वॉइस इज देयर, एवरीथिंग इज चेंज्ड, राइट? सो दैट्स व्हाई वी नीड टू बी वेरी कॉन्शियस of these things that are there. So this is just a small example, whether it's an example of deep or shallow fake. Any guesses?
Deep fake.
Why?
Because the face is there. They replace the face of the person but the voice is of another person.
Exactly. Expression is the key word. Face, audio, everything can be manipulated, but expressions are very difficult. How can you bring those expressions, the blinking of the eye, right? The smile, उतनी ही smile है. कोई ज़्यादा भी हंस सकता है, किसी के 4 दांत दिख सकते हैं उस हंसी में और किसी के 32 के 32. So yes, it is, right? So you can sometimes you can use, there are videos that can be generated with the help of AI. For example, Sora is one platform which can help you generate AI videos as well, right? So that's why it becomes very difficult, and it is important for you to be critically looking at things, okay? So cost of deepfakes, of course, to spread misinformation, defamation, political manipulation, eroding the trust, psychological impacts on the victims. With AI, you can possibly objectify, harass people, right? And it can have socio-political polarization as agenda as well, right? So when you have to detect some deepfakes, so some clues, look at the comments, credentials, building is there, some landmarks are there, some number plate is there. अगर कोई vehicle बताइए तो number plate देखो, उस number plate में आगे JK लिखा है, BH लिखा है, और वो news story किसके बारे में कह रही है, right? Audio है, audio को check करो, right? Source को check करो, उसके जो signs हैं, flags, logo, emblems, कई बार वो फ्लैग चेंज करना भूल जाते हैं किसी कंट्री का, राइट? सो बैजेस, राइट? लोग हैं तो लुक एट देयर फीचर्स. अगर उसमें इफ पीपल आर देयर इन दैट बैकग्राउंड, लुक एट द फीचर्स, ट्राई टू मैप दोस, राइट? वेदर क्लाउडी है, सनी है, और उस डेट का वेदर उस जगह के साथ चेक करो, क्या टेम्परेचर दिखा रहा था, सनी दिखा रहा था, रेनी डे दिखा रहा था, और उस पिक्चर में क्या है. Weather is something which we really neglect. We don't really pay attention to. Have you ever paid attention to what is the weather in the picture? What is the weather of the place that they are mentioning that day? We don't, right? So these are some things that we have to look at. The banners, the billboards that are there. हर जगह में street में कोई banner होता है, कोई hoarding होती है, right? Look at them. Hoardings कहाँ की हैं? What are they talking about, right? So when you are doing all of this, you are able to really decode the information, right? Zoom in, okay? AI will have errors, right? In terms of expressions, in terms of the words, the language, the text, the dialect, right? They will have. That is why we need to go back to our parent languages, right? So body propositions, like I said, किसी हंसने में 4 दांत दिख रहे हैं, 32 दिख रहे हैं, तो naturally कैसा होगा, right? Image की appearance क्या है? So these are some of the clues that can help you decode. So these are some of the important learnings we have had so far. It is important to step back from obvious messaging Be cautious with posts that trigger extreme emotions. Verified handles do not always mean verified and credible information. Observe carefully, verify with credible sources. Use fact-checking tools and techniques to verify content. Okay. So what you can do, always be skeptical. Okay. Especially in the age of AI, when everything is given to you and you can easily fall prey. Okay. Always fact check. So this is a traffic light exercise which you can do it later on. I'll share it with Akash. So you can, there is green light, there is yellow light, and there is red light. So when you should stop consuming a particular information, if it is not credible, stop it. Don't add to it, block it. We don't really block it also, right? And slow down when the sources are not trustworthy, when you have even an iota of doubt, slow down, okay? And when you think it is healthy information which can be fruitful not just to me but others, that is the time when you have to share it at green signal. So you can, in your free time, you can write what are the things I have to be aware of and stop, what are the things I have to be slow down upon, and what are the things that I can really contribute to the society by sharing it further. Okay, this is also a cubing exercise. This is a brain mapping exercise. So you can take up any topic. Like I said, everything has different dimensions to it. So cubes are reflecting nothing but different dimensions to one side or a topic, right? So you have to put that topic and you have to look at the different dimensions of the topic in the form of a cube, है ना? उस topic को describe करिए, compare it, associate with something, analyze it, apply it, and argue for or against it, right? So these are some of the possible dimensions, but they are not limited. You can come up with other dimensions, right? You can pick up a topic and start to develop ideas, okay? So post this workshop, you all will be getting certificates once you all have done the pre-test, and you will be doing your post-test also. So, so based on the exercises that I will be sharing with Akash, you can go contribute those exercises and share it with Akash. He'll further share it with me. And in the month of April, somewhere towards the end of April, the factshala will be announcing the winners, the champions, the super searchers. Right? So if your work is impactful, you might also be making a name not just for yourself but for the community, for the college, and everyone around. So you can take up the activities if you want to create an awareness program on fact checking. It can be a podcast, it can be, this is not limited, but just some ideas I'm floating. So these activities can be, even the college can decide to make a super searcher team. Like we used to have lab journals, you can have fact checkers, a team of fact checkers. And then they can go to the different departments and they can further teach students. Like in television and broadcast, we used to have morning news capsule, you can have a fact checker capsule. Right, wherein you can have a podcast on fact checking. If somebody has spotted, somebody can make a fact check on that, and you can make it viral in your community so that other students are aware कि ये locally ये news spread हो रही है, but this is a fake news. अपने groups में, we don't really tell in our own groups and our community, social communities, that this is a fake, don't go for it. Like the way we are sharing good morning and other messages. Right? So you can make a podcast, you can have an interactive videos which can, you can have a parody of any event that has happened, right? Or you can even run a social media campaign against fake news. You can have road shows, skits, street plays, you can have an open mic where people come in and talking, folk art. Through the folk art, they are making people conscious. So when you are aware of your folk art, will you be able to know ये डोगरा में ही होता है, ये this particular thing is seen in miniature art is seen in only Basoli. अगर आप म्यूजियम गए हैं तो ही आपको पता है ये पेंटिंग म्यूजियम में नहीं है, right? So you have to open up your minds and eyes towards things. Online games you can create, you can make a comic script, hand comic script. Those of you who are good in drawing, you can make a comic script that can be part of even your practical exercises, right? And interactive quiz. So for interactive quiz, Kahoot is one app which you give the topic, it will give you some questions. So you can do it on a Friday basis with your students, right? So real or unreal, fake or not fake, AI generated or done by a photographer. तो आप newspapers में से देख सकते हैं. You can assign a student to design that quiz, and you can have this 15 minutes, 10 minutes in between the classes. These activities wherein students will develop critical thinking as well, right? So with that I conclude, and thank you all. Thanks to each and every one of you. Thanks to Alpana ma'am. Thanks to Akash for standing alongside me for this workshop, which has exceeded the time I expected. But I hope you have gained a lot from this, and you will be contributing and bringing back laurels, not just in terms of college and communities, but to your own goodness as well. So thank you everyone, and I wish you all the very best.